Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to episode 21 of Book Read. I'm very excited to be with you today, and also the fact that I'm going to be introducing you to a wonderful author. We're going to the United States of America to meet author Cathy Yuhas. She has an incredible book available at the moment. You need to buy it. It's got a wonderful message, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So without further ado, let's go and meet this episode's guest author. Cathy Yuhas, welcome to Book Read. How are you, lovely?
I am wonderful, Jaden. Thank you for having me here today.
More than a pleasure, more than a pleasure. Really excited to be talking about your book. However, I want to talk about you first. And we've had a little chat, so I know you've done a bit of songwriting. I know you are a woman of many talents. But what got you into book writing and becoming an author?
That is a long and winding road. I've been a registered nurse for all of my life. I've been in critical care. I've done home care and hospice. I've worked in the operating room. I've seen a lot of death and dying. And so when I was getting ready to retire, I said, what am I going to do with my life? I'm not going to be able to sit still for very long. I'm used to being on my feet for 10, 12 hours a day. So my sister actually put the bug in my ear about something called a death doula. And I said, whoa, what's that? So I listened to an explanation on that, a 90-minute presentation by a woman named Suzanne O'Brien. And during that 90 minutes, something just clicked inside my head, and I said, this is it. This is what I want to do. It works. Death doulas work with people at end of life. And so I thought, wow, with my hospice and nursing experience, this would be a good tie-in. So that's what I did. And as far as writing a book, I never dreamed in a million years I'd ever be writing a book. I mean, I do have a small informational pamphlet that I put out a few years ago, and that was with the help of Cheyenne Joy Aziz, who is now my publisher, along with Kim Egglesey. So I just want to put that little plug in there. And so when I was in the process of setting up my death doula business, I started having educational things out in the community, because I would say I'm a death doula and people would just, what is that? Or they hear the death and dying word and everybody wants to cover their ears and run the other way. So I said, okay, it's time. We have to do a little education here. So I started out in the community and I created a 6-week workshop, and we met for 2 hours for 6 weeks in a row, and it was lovely, but I only had a small amount of people that attended. So I thought, how can I get this out to more people? Because it's really, really necessary, the information. So I think it was one day there was something on social media on Facebook, and Kim and Cheyenne had announced that they were starting a publishing company. And of course, that was my sign from the universe. Okay, this is what I need to do. So that's how I started.
Wow, that's amazing. Just on a personal level, because obviously I've worked in with kind of severely disabled teenagers and kids, and have witnessed dying and near death kind of situations. When that is something that you're kind of around all the time, how was you able to step back from that and not allow it to become something that becomes quite traumatic in your life, or did it for a while?
Well, I think in the beginning, I don't know. I've always had this curiosity about death. I remember working in the hospital, and when somebody was dying, watching the monitor, and I was curious about the process. Right. What happens when somebody's dying? So, but it's always sad. I mean, it doesn't matter being a hospice nurse, you get attached to families. Yeah. It's always sad. It is traumatic. And I've had a lot of experiences in my personal life with death and different things. So what I learned to do was really focus on self-care and knowing that that's that person's journey. My job was there to be with them. I did the best that I could. And so For me, it's, getting out in nature, doing whatever, going for a massage, whatever it takes to take care of myself so I can keep doing this work.
To disconnect a little bit. I used to have a pet cremation business, and I remember when I've got quite a few animals myself. So, firstly, I started this business to cremate mine because I didn't have any earth where I lived and they couldn't be buried. So I wanted to make sure they had the most beautiful send off. And then people said, "Oh, can you do mine? Can you do mine?" And it just kind of happened the way things do in Mexico. But I remember for the first few cremations, I would sit with that dead animal and I would be in floods of tears for like 20 minutes, like, "Oh, you had a good life. I don't know why they've taken it." But then after, you kind of, when I say you become like immune to it, I don't mean that in a negative, detached. I mean, there is a certain amount of detachment there, but it went from crying my eyes out for 20 minutes was like, "Do you know what? I'm picking every flower in the garden because you were a beautiful dog and I'm making sure you go." So it gone from very kind of, it gone from quite a traumatic thing to seeing, when you see death, more than 20 times a day, I guess, in this case, when my business was really working, it takes the edge off. And like you said, we do have trouble with death and dying, with those words and everything that those words entail. So this book obviously is incredibly important for people to read. Can you tell us first the name of the book? I know what it is, but I want you to introduce it and tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. It's called Walking Each Other Home, Guiding Caregivers and Community Through the Sacred Passage of Death. And yes, I've had people point out that walking each other home is kind of a Ram Dass reflection. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting him back when I lived in Sedona, Arizona for a while. So I love the title. I don't know if I can. Oh, it's behind my shoulder. Oh, it's not behind my shoulder.
Oh,
I have a background, so I don't. My book cover was created by an amazing artist in Canada. And let me just grab it because I think
she goes into the ether and brings it back. It's just the way.
I know.
That is really beautiful.
So anyway, I love the book cover.
Yeah.
And it shows, family and community supporting this person who's getting ready to cross over. And these are the people who have gone before us.
Waiting, absolutely.
So, yeah, I love that concept. So, it's the book started out with one question for me. Why do we have such a problem talking about death? And by the way, for anybody listening, talking about death doesn't make it happen any sooner. I don't care how superstitious you are, talking about it doesn't make it happen sooner. Mm-hmm. So the book is kind of, it's a plan, it's a roadmap sort of, and it starts out with that question, and then it starts out with, there's so much chaos and fear currently around death and dying. So I thought, how can we help people have a better experience at end of life? So, which is possible, and I've seen it a million times. It is possible to have a peaceful death with family and friends around you. So that was my one goal, is to do that. And so then, how do we have a good death? So the answer to that is you have to have a plan. Well, okay, how do you make a plan? Well, you have to know, first of all, what are your values in terms of what does a good life look like, right? So, for some people, it's being with family. For some people, it's being out in nature. For some people, it's being driven to provide and serve the community, whatever that means for each person. So once you have established your values around what quality of life is for you, then the important thing is to let other people know about it. Because I think one of the biggest things that causes the chaos when somebody's dying is when you get in a situation where someone can't communicate for themselves. Maybe they've had an accident or a stroke or whatever it is. And, two kids come up and they say, well, mom would have liked this. And the other one says, well, no, I don't think that's what she wants. She never said that. So there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of drama, and it doesn't have to be with that way. So if everybody takes the time to outline that way everybody's all on board. And then you can, instead of spending your time fighting over things, you can get to the part about the peaceful death. And that's, leads into things that we need to deal with, like grief and forgiveness and that kind of thing. So
does it also deal with what to expect on a physical level when you're actually, I guess, watching someone? I mean, watching someone taking their last breath is something that's almost unimaginable, really, unless you're really unfortunately or fortunately able to be there at that particular last breath. There are so many fears and phobias about watching that happen, the fear of that happening. So does your book cover that as well, or is it literally more about the plans and the step-by-step guide?
Yeah, no, I have a whole chapter devoted to the physical process of dying. And for most people, they don't realize that sometimes, say, for instance, a person who's just coming to the end of their life, they're elderly, and, we're all going to do it. And it's not, it's maybe not a traditional, you've just received a terminal illness diagnosis or something. And I noticed this happening with my father. It can start months before. There are certain things that happen. You start noticing changes in their appetite, changes in their sleep. And then, one thing leads to another, and then that leads to death. And so we talk about that. I talk about that. And also, there are things that can happen when somebody's going through the dying process. People can experience, you mentioned it before, near-death awareness, where they see people who have gone before them. My father had a full-on conversation with a group of people.
Really?
And he told us about it. He was here enough that he could tell us who he was talking to and what they were saying. And I found that really interesting. And then there's another thing, and he also experienced it. It's called terminal lucidity. So that is when somebody's in the dying process, you eventually go into what I like to call like a sleep coma. You're just sleeping all the time. You're not waking up, you're not responding. And then suddenly a person will sit up and say, I'd like to eat. Or in my father's case, he said, I'd like a cup of coffee. And we were just like, you've just been laying there for 8 days. I mean, how is this happening? So, by the time we got him the cup of coffee, he wasn't interested in it anymore. I don't know, whatever was going on in his brain, but maybe the smell of the coffee was enough. It reminded him of his life here and, things that made him comfortable. So, So I go through all of that and explain those things that can happen.
That's amazing.
They don't happen all the time, but they can happen.
It's a possibility. When my father passed when he was 48 on my birthday, my 21st birthday, and he had a really rough time before he died, and he was kind of off his face on drugs, morphine and stuff like this. And when my mum and dad met, they used to say, I love you, I love you, I love you 3 times. And my dad had been completely out of it. He was skeletal. I mean, he was a big, handsome man and had leukemia and suffered greatly with the therapies and the disease. And literally just before he died, he'd done exactly what you just said. He'd been completely, there was nothing from him for days. And he opened his eyes and went, I'm going now, Jane, which is my mum's name, and goes, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then he just went back and died.
I love that.
How beautiful.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
It was beautiful, but yeah, it's amazing. I also had a friend as well. She was in a psychic awareness group that I used to teach back in England, and she was very young again. She was in her 30s, was leaving, about 4 kids under the age of 10. So it wasn't the best time for her to pass, really, as far as she was concerned. But her brother told me he wasn't a believer in anything after lifey. And she was laying in bed in her home. They'd taken her out of the hospice and let her die at home. And he said one day she just, eyes closed, nothing, like no verbal communication at all. She just started going, like watching these people that she could see coming into the room, and kind of this whole look of, oh my God, it's my great aunt Agatha or something like that. He just said, she just kept looking over as these, whatever it was appearing. She had the biggest smile on her face, and then complete serenity as she passed.
Yeah.
Like so many
Yeah.
people were coming to get her. So whether, you know, for those of that have had afterlife experiences, whether that happens or whether it was just a brain thing that just made her relive moments or whatever. But what a beautiful way to go.
Doesn't that make you feel good though? Doesn't that comfort
Yeah,
you? Like it comforts me. I've seen patients where they just suddenly reach out, like they're reaching out to someone, and you can picture like that person sort of guiding them to
beautiful.
the other side. And so I love that. It makes
I
me
think it's
feel a
amazing.
whole lot better.
I used to sing in this hospice for end of life care. And I can't remember this guy's name or his wife's name, so I'm going to use like Peter and Elsie for it. But he was very, very sick as well. He was pretty much non-verbal, and occasionally he would say the words Elsie. Like he would kind of look at the end of his bed, just say Elsie, and then kind of go back to his kind of his deathbed, literally. And then one day, like you said, the nurses came in and he was up out of bed. He was putting his clothes on the bed. He goes, I've got to go and have a shave. I have to have a wash. And the nurse is like, Mr. Jones, why is this happening? She's going, Elsie's coming here in 20 minutes. She's going to meet me. I've got to go and get ready. And literally, he had his little attempt at shaving, cleaned his teeth, got his nice clothes on, went back to bed and died.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yep.
I
And
know
if we
my
pay,
dad's there and Olivia Newton-John's there, so I got no problems going. Like I'm just all good.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some beautiful stories as well that kind of takes that fear and phobia out of dying. It's just part of the journey, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I choose to believe. Yes.
Yeah. Would you like to read us some of the book?
Oh, okay. Here's something from my book. It's chapter 2 called Dancing with Death. If you knew you only had months to live, would you know how to navigate the situation? Facing a serious illness or being close to death does many things, but most of all, once people get over the initial shock, laser clarity occurs. You drop the minutia of what you thought was your current reality, and you get very clear about what you like and who you love. The distraction of the illusion that you are busy, always right, and self-important drops off when the realization comes that you are dying. This is the exact moment when you look yourself in the eye and you see yourself for who you really are and what's important in your life. So, what is quality of life and what does it mean for you? That's different for every person. For those with a new diagnosis of a terminal illness, the trajectory may not be a straight line. You may have ups and downs. A new treatment you start may cause you to feel worse in the beginning, and you may feel better for a time. You may go through the cycle many times. As your illness progresses, your goals may change. Most people want to retain their independence for as long as possible, to not feel like a burden to anyone. As time passes, you may sense gradual losses in your mobility or freedom, which may cause your goals to change. For instance, socializing with others or comfort may become your highest goal. So that's a little bit about the book, and I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you buy the book.
It's sad that it takes us getting to that stage to realize what our real priorities in life are. Some people do beforehand, and much respect to them, but the majority, when we get to that stage of our life, that's when we realize what our lack of self-importance and the true meaning of everything that we've experienced, right?
Mm. So in writing the book, it's interesting because it became educational to myself as I'd hoped it will be for other people. And so when I got to the end, what I really, really realized was life is about connection. Life is about love and being present for each other. And I don't think there's anything more important than those things. So I would say, find out what your values are, communicate them with your family, share them with everyone, and then once you set it, forget it, and go on and live your best life.
Beautiful, lovely, lovely words. Where can people buy this book?
So the book will be, I'm launching it on Wednesday, September 17th. So it'll be available that day on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Fantastic. So if people have any questions for you, you can leave questions for Cathy underneath this video. I'm sure Cathy will check them out occasionally and give you some answers. But how can people contact you? Where can people find you?
Sure. So I have a Facebook business page called Dying Matters. I'm there and I try to post educational things. I have a website called Dying Matters. It's dyingmatters.llc. And those are the two places that I mostly hang out. So
there's the best place for them to contact you.
Yeah.
Cathy, thank you so much for not only giving me your time today, but bringing your beautiful book and sharing it with us. I wish you so much success with it. And people at home, Amazon, go check it out. Go buy it. Perfect gift. Maybe not for Christmas, but definitely for family members that are struggling with the dying process because they are experiencing that at the moment. Thank you so much for writing about it and educating us more and helping to take away some of that fear and burden that is so heavy when you're going through that. Just to have someone's advice when you're in that stage, whether it's a family member or loved one, is magical. So thank you so much. We are in touch. I'm looking forward to your next book.
Okay. I'm going to take a small breather. I don't know if people realize how daunting it is to birth a book out into the world. So I may pause for a moment, but I'm sure I'm going to keep writing.
Absolutely. Well,
and thank you for having me here. This has been amazing.
More than a pleasure. I wish you untold amount of love and success with your creation, and we will stay in touch.
That's great.
Take care, Cathy. See you later.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Cathy, for being an incredible featured author. Thank you, you beautiful people at home, for allowing us in to your homes. And thank you for taking the time to watch this show. I hope that you will like. I hope that you will subscribe. I hope that you will comment. I hope that you will share with everybody you know. Please go out and buy this book. You'll find the links in the description of this video. And if you have any questions for Cathy, you can find where to contact her as well on her social media platforms. Don't be scared. If you have any questions, please go and chat to Cathy. Thank you so much. I can't wait to be with you for episode 22. In the meantime, take care, stay beautiful, and I will see you again on JCTV soon. Bye-bye.